Welcome back, everyone. It is time once again for another round of the seasonal wrap-up show. We've been having some fun lately doing the Rewind series to catch up on some stuff from previous seasons, but now it's time to jump back to the present with the spring 2026 season. We got a whole lot of shows on here. 53 potentially, but the potentially part we'll get to. Well, I might as well explain now. There's still a few shows around the end of the list here that don't have end date or episode counts, so some of them could be two core shows that continue into the summer. If they do, we'll just take them off the list as we go. But in any case, if this is your first time watching the seasonal wrap-up show, essentially, I am just going down this list in order, the order mostly being just when they finish airing, and I watch them until I either finish them, or I get bored, or I hate them, and so I drop them. I want to find all of the good shit that came out this season, because I can't rely on popular consensus or even my own general taste to find the shows that I want to watch. I just have to try them all. So, few more details before we jump into the actual list. The bolded shows on this list are what I call my end caps. These are ones that I want to end each video on, just so that there's like a nice little note to end on. There are usually shows that are either sequels that I'm very excited to watch, or they're new shows that I think have a lot of potential. And the end caps for this season are My Hero Academia, More, that's the special episode that adapts the final chapter, the final bonus chapter of that, Akane Banashi, the new Shonen Jump series, which is one of my favorite currently running manga, Nippon Sangoku, which I don't really know a lot about, but it's been getting a ton of buzz lately, and the visuals look incredible. Witch Hat Atelier, obviously the big pull for the season in terms of new high production value shows. Botan Kamina, Fully Blossoms When Drunk, which is a very cool looking slice of life show that I'm interested in checking out. And then finally, Wisteria, Wand and Sword. I don't even know if I spelled that correctly. Maybe I'll have to check that. But first season was really fun. I'm excited to do that, to get back to that. And finally, we have our expected minimum and expected maximum numbers. This is the range of the number of shows that I expect to finish from this season. Oh, actually, I forgot to take into account that I already watched the Gundam Hathaway movie in theaters, so we're going to bump those numbers up to an expected minimum of 12 and an expected maximum of 19, which is pretty decently large, but who knows if we'll actually hit those numbers. But in any case, that's enough intro talk. Let's get into the start of the list with a film that may or may not be a great way to start this. The Love Live Nijigasaki movie 2. The first movie was very disappointing as someone who's has Nijigasaki as their favorite Love Live series. It was just the visual downgrade was incredibly noticeable, and a lot of it was just super meandering until the end and didn't have a lot of bite to it. Maybe that was just first movie jitters or whatever. So hopefully this second one is a bit better.
Okay, that was a massive improvement over part 1. Alright, Love Live Nijigasaki Final Chapter Part 2 is good. Let's talk about the reasons why it's better than the first movie. You can go back to whatever season I covered the first movie, and it was probably 2025, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was winter 2025, but I'm not entirely certain. So dig somewhere around there if you want to hear my thoughts on that. But one of the main things I've discovered is that for the Part 1 movie, the chief animation director, or at least one of the chief animation directors was Kerorira, who has sort of made a name for himself lately within the anime sphere. You probably best know him for doing the character designs for Bocchi the Rock, which, now that I think about it, I'm not sure how I didn't connect the dots there, because if you go back and look at movie 1, they look kind of like Bocchi characters. Like, they look like they've taken the Love Live Nijigasaki characters and put a Bocchi filter over them. And it did not work. Which is, because, like, I like Bocchi's designs. I think they're really fucking solid, but I do not think that particular art style works well for Nijigasaki. I think it is overly simple, and the proportions are just not right. So, as I discovered after doing a little bit of database research, Kerorira was not involved with the second movie, as far as I can tell. And as such, the character designs seem to have mostly gone back to what they were for the TV series. Not entirely so, but for the most part, they are back to looking normal, I guess. So that's a huge plus, because that was one of the things that I really disliked about the first movie. And also, I think it's the overall visual sense is a lot stronger too. I just don't think Kerorira was right for that project. I just don't think it worked out well. I'm basing that solely on the fact that I like everything visually about the second movie more than I liked about the first movie, and he was the chief animation director, so I can't help but point the finger in that direction. So I don't think it's him just being bad at his job. I think it's him being not a good fit for Love Live. But in any case, yes, character designs are back to looking really solid. Some really fun and interesting outfits for the girls in this movie that I like when anime has style in terms of like clothing, and they actually like have like a bunch of different outfits that look really cute and fun. Mia's outfits in particular are really interesting because they're very boyish in a way. Like, they're not like the typically feminine kind of dress, and it just has it's a nice contrast with the rest of the group. Rina has this, I don't know why, but I really liked Rina's sweater that she has on, this pink sweater that she has. I think it just looks really cute. Maybe it's just me getting back to being like, oh, finally, the show looks good again. That I'm noticing all of these details. And like, the lighting's really solid, the color design's really solid. The music video segments are as good as they've always been. So yeah, if you were off-put by how the first movie looked, jump back on for the second movie, because it's back to looking like Love Live. I also think this one's longer, significantly longer than the first movie. I don't know how long the first movie was, but this one was 75 minutes, and I'm pretty sure the first movie was under an hour. So significantly more beef to it, which I think gives the narrative ideas it has a little bit more room to breathe. And also just a lot more room for the characters to have fun and do fun stuff in... Where are they at? I think they're in Kansai, I think. Or Odaiba, I forget. Because, like, we're dealing with this, the other... Because the first half... The first movie was in Okinawa with, like, with, like, half of the group. And then the second movie, I forget where it's set. But this movie focuses on... It's got Setsuna, Rina, Mia, Karin, and... Fuck, who am I forgetting? It's breaking. Shioriko. Yeah. So that's the 6 that we're focusing on for this movie. Got a really strong Mia arc in character arc in this one, with her sort of dealing with the pressure of her family name, and having that, when that family name comes bubbling back up to the surface again, it causes her to sort of crack under the pressure. But she has her friends there to help her through it. Although there is a lot of turbulence getting there, because like we have her sister Chloe coming back and being like, hey, if you're going to be a singer, you should like come back home so that we can train you properly. You're not going to be a school idol forever. Which is sort of one of the driving, would you call it a thematic motif of Love Live, in that just a driving idea behind Love Live in general, in that it's like, yes, you are only going to be a school idol for a limited amount of time. Therefore, it is a very precious time. Which is the conclusion that Mia ultimately arrives at, although there's a lot of Rina shenanigans going on in between the point A and point B as well, which I found very funny. She has this weird alternate identity where she goes by Alan, which is very funny because that's my dad's name. But anyway, yeah, this was, I just could not stop thinking about that when I was watching this. Very fun, weird magical realism stuff going on with Rina's hacking skills. There's no point in me explaining all of the things that happens, because it's just sort of, again, magical realism stuff. She does the thing and makes the cool thing happen. That's kind of Love Live in general. If you're not on board for magical realism, you are not on board for Love Live. That's all I can say. Because there's a lot of that happening in this movie. While we're on the subject of Mia, though, I will say, Chloe, her sister... So Mia stood out in particular in Season 2 because she is American, and she speaks English quite a bit throughout the series. And I noted in my ramblings about Season 2, from whatever fucking season that was, that her voice actress is actually really good at speaking English. There's like a little bit of a tell, but like for the most part, she's got the inflection down, she's got the pronunciation down, she's got the rhythm of her speech down. She's really good at speaking English for a Japanese anime voice actress. Can't say the same about who they got for her sister. I forget it's like Aoba Hono, I think, or something like that, is Chloe's voice actress, and the English lines that she has are not great. The most notably, aside from the pronunciation, the rhythm and like the inflections are really off, and so it just feels like someone doesn't understand how English functions as a language. if it were any other thing, I would just be like, oh, anime's doing the bad English again. But they have Mia's voice. I'm going to look up who Mia's voice actress is right now, because she does such a good job at speaking English. And so to have her and the other girl in this is just total whiplash. Okay, Shu Uchida is Mia Taylor's voice actress. She is really good at speaking English. Other girl, not so much. So, I have to get that out of the way. But, yes, really liked Mia's arc. And there's also even a little bit of Rina in there, too, where it's like she sort of just forgets. She, like, Mia has this line of, like, the Rina board isn't to hide, it's to express your emotions, which, if you'll recall from way back when I talked about Season 1, Rina was my favorite character from that season. And particularly because of her social anxiety things. It's not social anxiety, it's just her inability to express her emotions on her face in a way that's noticeable. So circling back to that as for this part really got to me. I liked that a lot. And also we had sort of a bleed over of the idea of, like, you're not going to be a school idol forever. We have that bleed over into Setsuna's arc for this movie, where it's just sort of like, see, I know her as Setsuna, and I don't know what her, because that's her idol name, but I forget what her actual idol name is. Mal's not going to tell me. The app is up. Are you going to load? Yeah. Nana Nakagawa. That's... So yeah. I'm going to call her Setsuna Yuki because that's just what I'm familiar with. But, like, she sort of created the Setsuna Yuki persona to be an idol, because she knows because she perceives that as something other than herself, and so it allows her to do these fantastical idol things. I liked the fact that she got the names from an anime that she really liked. That was fun. And then we have sort of just bringing her back into the fold of, like, well, that is part of you, though. Just because it's something you perform doesn't mean it's not part of you. You are a school idol. I'm being really bad at explaining this for some reason right now, but it's good. Yeah, this was a great way to put the Nijigasaki train back on the rails. I am very excited for the final movie. I still don't think this was as good as any parts of, or overall, any parts of Season 1 or 2, but it is such a huge rebound from the first movie that I gotta give it a lot of points for that. Yeah, Nijigasaki is good again.
Alright. Love Live Nijigasaki Movie 2 is complete. 1 for 1 so far. And we're gonna put you right under the Evangelion special with a strong 7. I am shocked at how much this has improved since the last movie. I really hope the finale knocks it out of the park. Okay, so next is Dandelion. This is a 7-episode Netflix series, and I believe it's adapted from a Sorachi manga, Sorachi being the guy who wrote Gintama. I think this is something that he wrote before Gintama, but I'm not entirely sure. Gintama is one of my favorite things, so let's see if Sorachi had the juice with this one.
I think the most poignant thing I can say about this one is that you can really tell that it was based on a one-shot and not a full manga series. I got like 7 minutes into the third episode of Dandelion. Yes, this is based on a one-shot by Hideaki Sorachi, who's the guy who wrote Gintama, and the first, 22 minutes of that 30-minute episode are pretty solid. They feel like Sorachi writing R.I.P.D. I've never actually seen that movie, but that's is essentially what it is. Angels hunting down spirits that have not left this earth of sorts. I guess it would be like Sorachi writing Bleach, I guess, but without the hollows and such. But again, it was only a one-shot, so he only wrote one chapter, which leads to the rest of the series being original content that is pretty mid. Whereas the first episode is very punchy and just bizarre and fun in the way that Gintama usually is. Everything that comes after that is just a mediocre comedy. The most notable thing I noticed is that the pacing slows to a fucking crawl. Even the editing and the timing of the punch jokes and the punchlines really slows down. Did they need to be 30-minute episodes instead of 24-minute episodes because it's Netflix? Because there is a ton of dead air that could be cut out. It's so weird. Yeah, and it's even the visuals seem to fall off a bit after the first episode. There's some pretty cool shots in the first episode where it's this got a little bit of a kick to it. All right, let's do this. And then after that, it's just sort of very standard looking, just very standard and average. This is average, slightly below average. That's the best I can say about it, I guess. Megumi Han does a really good job as the sort of sidekick character for this very sort of a pseudo Kagura character of sorts, but not nearly as extreme. The main character looks like Hijikata from Gintama, so he's definitely a prototype for that. Yeah, I would highly recommend watching the first episode and then just not watching the rest of it, because it really falls off.
Alright, that's a bit of a disappointment. Dandelion is off the list. Next is Your Letter, which I believe is a Korean film, which I think actually came out in 2024, but the subs did not become available until at the beginning of April, I think, which I guess I should clarify, that's how I do these lists. If you're new to this, for example, I have Gundam Hathaway in the spring season, even though it came out in the winter in Japan, because it did not become available in the US until spring. So that's how we do it here. In any case, literally never heard anything about this one. Could be a surprise hit. The summer was really fun. So let's see if it's something similar.
Yeah. This is one of those movies where it takes compositing as sort of a suggestion rather than like a thing that you do to make the entire shot look good. Boy, there's a lot of disconnect between the different elements of the scene. A lot of really bad CG objects, and honestly, the regular 2D animation isn't really good enough to justify it. It just looks like slightly above average. It's not bad looking, but the 2D animation is not bad looking. But when you combine it with everything else, boy, it is something. This is also you've probably heard, if you are a long-time listener to me doing the seasonal wrap-up show, you know that I am typically fine with things not being subtle, because sometimes it's good, and sometimes it just makes for a really good point, and just beating you over the head with the points sometimes can work, but not in the way that this film is doing it, because it's just not only is it beating you over the head with the point, it is just deliberately explaining the point to you. Like, this is a story about bullying and like getting over bullying within a middle school environment, and that's the only thing that we know about our main character for like the first 7 minutes of this film, which is what I watched. We know that she got bullied for trying to stand up for someone else being bullied, and that's pretty much it. And they just hammer on that point so hard that it's just like not interesting. So yeah, I don't particularly care for this one.
Okay, your letter is coming off the list. Next is Release the Witch, which I believe is a Chinese production that I have not heard anybody talk about, but that doesn't mean anything. Could just be that no one's watching it because no advertisements. And I think it's only like 8 episodes, so it could be a pretty short watch, or an even shorter watch if I don't like it. We'll find out.
I have determined that I do not like the generic aesthetic for most donghua, like Chinese productions. I don't know why, but it just, whenever they do this particular type of character designs, it just does not look good to me. Not that that's the only thing that looks bad about this, because for a show that has above an 8 on Mal, there sure is a lot of jank to this, but in weird places. Like during the mine collapse scene, like it's just not necessarily jank, but just like lack of artistry, I guess, in a lot of different areas. Like there's a mine collapse in this, and when a bunch of like stones and wood pillars land on a bunch of people, like there's no real impact to it. Like the sound effects are barely like have any punch to them, and just the way it's framed just feels very ineffectual. And there's also just a lot of very weird moments in this, like weird, but okay, so this guy's trapped under rubble, and he has dropped like a pile, his like satchel of gold coins or whatever, or copper coins, whatever they are, And another guy's like, oh, free coins. Yoink. And the guy reaches out to grabs his hand. Like he's like asking for help to get him out from under the rubble. But instead of just like leaving, the guy kills him with like a shovel or a hoe or something. And it's like, why? He's already gonna die. Just leave him. Even if he survives, you could be like, oh, I was scared for my own life, so I'm just gonna I just booked it. You could lie about the coins. Like, unnecessarily mean. And then during this execution scene, there's like, the prince comes out to judge the execution, and there's like a reaction shot of a woman in the crowd who looks like shocked to see him. And it's like, why? Maybe it's like, oh, she recognizes him from somewhere, but like, why? You could give like a little bit more of a hint, like even like any kind of, like a line, like some kind of generic line, like it can't be, or something. Like that would at least be like, oh, does she know this guy or something? But no, it's just like a static reaction shot of her looking shocked to see the prince at the place that the prince was announced to be at. So it's just a lot of little tiny things like that that really annoy me. Honestly, I might just start knocking the door. Well, unless, see, every time I think like, oh, I can just eliminate this particular type of thing for the season wrap-up show, I get something that proves me wrong. Like, it's like, initially I did not include Chinese productions at all in the seasonal wrap-up show, and then I mistakenly watched Herbivorous Dragon thinking that it was just an anime, like a Japanese anime. And I really liked it, and then found out pretty early on that it was a Chinese production, but so I was like, oh, this is cool. Maybe these Chinese productions have a lot going on with them. And then, actually, I think before that, actually, I was watching all of the To Be Hero franchises stuff. Like, the first To Be Hero was bad. It was just really bad comedy. The second one, To Be Heroine, was interesting, but very muddled. And then, like, what was it, last year or 2 years ago was To Be Hero X? I think it was last year. Yeah, last year was To Be Hero X, which was really solid. And so it's like, occasionally, there are these Chinese productions that really shine through, but most of them are like this. Most of them are just these generic, either East Asian fantasies or European fantasies. And they just are incredibly mid. Like, even Who Made Me a Princess was not particularly good, even though it, like, looked like it was trying to be closer to anime in aesthetic. So, I don't know what I'm going to do with these donghua from here on out, but, like, I just don't have a good time watching these on the whole. Not all of them, but on the whole.
Oh, it also turns out that this one's an isekai, by the way. I got far enough into where I met the isekai character, but it was also, like, still unclear whether it was isekai or if he just had memory loss. I was kind of hoping for memory loss, but apparently it's isekai. Not that it matters, because I didn't like anything else about it. Release the Witch is gone off the list. Next, Girls und Panzer Princess Samurai. This is like a short pilot thing for like a spin-off for Girls und Panzer. I have no idea what it could possibly be about other than like samurai maybe it's some kind of action thing I'm imagining. I haven't seen anybody talk about it. Not enough people talk about Girls in Panzer anymore, which is a shame. But in any case, let's give this thing a go.
Well, that was something. Girls und Panzer, Princess Samurai, the pilot. It's basically just like a teaser for the manga, which exists for this already, I guess, which apparently is already finished or something. It has like 16 volumes. And I guess this was screened alongside one of the spin-off Girls und Panzer movies that's airing right now, like Moto Moto Love or something. I forget what those are. Once that's finished, I'm gonna watch all of those for the seasonal wrap-up show. I think they are finished. It's just the subs aren't out for them yet, so I'm gonna have to wait on those. But this was just kind of something. Like, the first 70 seconds are just a close-up of a CG battle flag flapping in the wind. And this thing's only 4.5 minutes with credits. So, that was certainly a choice. But again, this is just like a PV for some kind of Girls und Panzer AU, I think. Because, like, they say that it's not Senshado, it's Tankathlon. But then also, they showed the main girl whose name, from the main Girls und Panzer series, whose name, I forgot, Mio? I think? They show the main girl from Girls und Panzer at the very end of this special. So maybe it exists in the same world as Girls und Panzer, but it's a different rule set for the tank sport, Senshado. It definitely looked a bit more violent, which is weird to say about a show where people shoot at each other in tanks. But also, the bullets, the tank rounds looked like beam rounds. Maybe they were supposed to be tracer rounds, but they looked and sounded and acted like beam rounds. So it's weird. There's some kind of internal conflict going on between the two characters in this that actually talk. They're both on the same team. I don't get it. Also, this isn't even directed by Tsutomu Mizushima. It's directed by, I think, Morihito Abe, who is most known for doing CG's direction for stuff. Like, he did it for the first Hathaway movie, he did it for G-Quux, and something else. By the way, this pilot doesn't even have an entry on Mal. I had to go to AniList to look it up, and then I had to, like, check Abe's profile on both Mal and AniList. He did CG directing for Wistoria. So, also, I didn't like the CG in Hathaway. Very famously, I've made that known. I'm not I don't dislike the CG in G-Quux, but I don't particularly like it either. So I am not a fan of this guy, I guess. And with this being his just out-and-out directorial debut, I'm not a fan of how he directs things. It does not have the same impact or pacing or like hype as Mizushima, which is, to be fair, a unfair comparison. Mizushima, I think, is one of the best anime directors working today. But you do kind of have to compare it to the rest of Girls und Panzer, and it falls woefully short. But honestly, it's just a PV for something. It's not a good PV, but it's a PV. It's an extended PV. That's it.
Okay, well, Girls und Panzer Princess Samurai is complete. To be honest, though, I don't feel like I should even put this on the list because it's clearly just a PV. If I were to score it, it would be like a light to decent 4. I didn't enjoy it. But also it's clearly not meant to be like its own encapsulated project. It's just promotion for the manga or maybe an upcoming series. Who knows? But it wasn't good. Anyway, next up, Love Live, Hasunosora. I think I actually spelled that wrong. I think it's Hasuno. The new Love Live, Bloom Garden Party. This is the upcoming Love Live series. I have not heard anything about it. I know this movie I think it's supposed to be full CG. So we'll see how that plays out. But, I have not heard anything about the new Love Lives characters yet. I vaguely remember seeing the character designs for, like, a key visual at some point, and they looked pretty interesting. So, let's see how it do.
I think I may have perhaps gotten an idea of where they got an idea to do a full CG Love Live movie, because the way that these characters move very much reminds me of Girls Band Cry. Like the mouth movements, the way things are framed, the speed of the movement of character models. It reminds me a lot of Girls Band Cry, but not nearly as good. I got like a little bit, like 30 seconds after the first performance is where I stopped. So like about 15, 16 minutes in. I will say the performance was actually pretty solid. That was really well done, very well shot. I liked the choreography. The song was pretty fun. I do think the one girl who had this duet at the end, the black-haired girl, the girl with the black short hair, I think she could have had a little more power behind her voice because it just felt a little weak. But in general, I thought the song was pretty solid. But I think the song's really the only thing that segment is really the only thing I liked. I've mentioned in the past that Love Live can often look sickly sweet and overly sweet and cutesy with its character models, and boy does that show up a lot in this. Especially with Kaho, the orange-haired girl. Like, I get this sugary diabetes feeling looking at her. It just does not hit it hits too hard in the wrong way for me. And I just outside of the performance, I generally don't like how things move, especially like the mouth movements. It looks really weird. It just doesn't fit. I will say it's composited pretty decently, which was one of my which is always a big fear with full CG stuff. But it's composited pretty well. The color design is fine, but it's not really eye-grabbing to any degree. It's very tame. and mild looking. Also, I don't like the red-haired girl. I see where they're like going with her character arc, I think, but she's just too abrasive and kind of stupid out of the gate. Don't like her. Yeah, bit of a disappointment. I sure hope if this gets a full TV series, which it probably will, I sure hope that it also isn't full CG, because this was not great. Save the CG for the song sequences, because those actually looked pretty good. The rest of it did not. Okay, new Love Live film off the list. Not a super big fan of that. Next is Dive in Wonderland. This is a movie that I presume has some sort of Alice in Wonderland, either aesthetic or narrative element or something. I don't know. But anime do be loving its Alice in Wonderland stuff, so let's see what this one's about. Oh my god, it's boring. So boring. Why are you boring, PA Works? You can do fun shit. Like, I was gonna be like, okay, has PA Works fallen off? Let me check my history with PA Works to see if they've fallen off. Nope, they have not. I liked Mayonaka Punch. I liked Paripikome. I liked Akima Maid War. Those all came out fairly recently. So they still make good shit, and like, even the director of this made good shit. Like, he was the director of Nagi no Asukara, which is one of my favorite PA Works things. It might be my favorite Mario Kata thing. Well, actually, no, IBO is my favorite Mario Kata thing. But, yeah, it's, like, also apparently this director has done, like, a ton of stuff. Like, he was the Black Butler director, and again, he did Nagi no Asukara. He did a bunch of shit, but he also did a lot of really, like, notoriously bad shit, like Gun Parade Orchestra. So he's kind of all over the place. But, boy, fucking boring. Holy shit, I got like 15 minutes into this, which was like basically as soon as she got into Wonderland and put on the AR thing. It was so tired. But like, actually, that's not even it, because like, there were some interesting tidbits to her character. She's just kind of she's got that post-college malaise to her. Can't get a job in a not great job market. She stays up late playing video games on her phone. I kind of did like the bit where she's like, hey, did grandma like leave me like an inheritance or something? So like, in theory I should like this character, but it's presented in the most boring ways possible. It's so plain to look at. There's really nothing interesting about the cinematography. The character designs are kind of weak, depending on how far away they are from the camera. Because, like, and I don't mean, like, oh, low-res animation pics or whatever. I mean, like, there is a certain distance at which for some reason, from which the character designs go from, okay, that's fine, to, something is wrong with the proportions. Like, there's a very clear, in the medium shot range where that happens. Because, like, at first I was watching this, I'm like, oh, these character designs kind of suck. And they remind me a lot of A Whiskey Family, the last PA Works movie, which I fucking nailed, apparently, because it's the same character designer. But then there were some like close-up shots of the main character in the car, and like later on I was like, okay, these actually look like decent designs. But then like you would have some like slightly further away shots and it would go back to looking kind of jank. And then once she finally got into Wonderland, I didn't know you could make the White Rabbit more annoying. But boy, did they. It sucks. I think PA Works should stop making original movies for a hot sec. They're not good. Not original anime in general. Because I don't think Mayanaka Punch was... I think Mayanaka Punch was an anime original. I think. I'm not 100% sure, but it might be. It felt like one. But... like, boy, this sucked. Okay, dive in Wonderland. Off the damn list. Next, A Boy with Gundam. This is like a 5-minute YouTube short to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Gundam, I think. I expect a lot of fan service and just fun stuff. Hopefully it's decently animated. Let's see what they decided to dole out. Okay, that was pretty dang fun. A Boy with Gundam, a 5-minute music video celebrating 50 years of Gundam with a really unique and, well, not unique, but like really interesting framing device of like, it's like Gundam through the, like, appreciation and nostalgia for Gundam through the perspective of a single family, which, like, not a lot of franchises can do. Like it's at first, when it first shows the guy who's going to be the focal point of the video, I was like, oh, it's like he's just like an average adult now reminiscing on his time with Gundam. But then, like, you do the math in your head, and then you see all the other characters, and it's like, oh, he's like a grandpa reminiscing on his time with Gundam, and then all the time he spent with his son, enjoying Gundam together, and now his son has a daughter who's getting into Gundam, and it really shows the massive length of time that Gundam has been around. Like, yeah, if you were like a kid when Gundam 79 came out in 79, there is a pretty decent chance that you might be a grandpa by now. So, like if he was like 10 when Gundam first came out, he'd be 60 now. That's wild. That is so wild to think about. And I do love the different like perspectives on like the different generations of Gundam, because like he starts with 79 and then like his kid's first Gundam is G Gundam, and there's like a little shot of him in the background reacting to G Gundam, like kind of like a what the hell is this? Like it's just like a totally new kind of Gundam. Not totally new, but you get what I'm saying. G Gundam is special. I have not seen enough of G Gundam. I actually had not seen G Gundam since I was very, very young. So I will definitely come back to G Gundam at some point. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It's just a big montage of different Gundam stuff, and like I really thought like the scenes where they're watching Gundam together on the TV and then like playing Gundam games together, genuinely very cool idea. I did think it was very funny that Double Zeta almost completely gets glossed over in comparison to everything else, because I was kind of doing the thing where I was like, oh, there's 79, oh, there's Zeta, there's like Turn A, there's Double O, there's G Gundam, there's Even Reconquista got like multiple shots in this, but like Double Zeta is just kind of so Double Zeta cannot catch a break. You should definitely watch Double Zeta. It's not great, but boy, the second half of that is so fucking good. I might have to rewatch it to see if the first half is as bad as I remember it. But then, yeah, like we have the new age Gundam stuff. We got a few shots of IBO, and then we got some G-Witch and G-Quux at the very end, which would be the granddaughter's Gundams that she would be interacting with. So subtle nod to the fact that like Gundam is for everyone. It's not just for men. Which, if you know your Gundam history, you would know that it's always been like that, and that Fujos were part of what saved Gundam from being canceled completely. So, yes, the ladies have always liked Gundam. But, yeah, it's really beautifully animated, a lot of really great iconic shots referencing like some big moments in the series, like that thing with the RX-78 at the end of the original series. You got some Char's counterattack in there. Just some cool stuff. Weirdly enough, my one like notable complaint about this is I don't think the song's very good, because like this is a music video. But it's a music video for a song that I don't think is particularly good. I think it's mixed really poorly, and it just feels kind of jagged in a lot of areas. And I looked up who it was. It's by People One, and I was like, that name sounds familiar. And it's because they did the 10th ending theme for Chainsaw Man. You know how like Chainsaw Man had a new ending theme for every episode? They did it for episode 10. Completely different sound. And that's actually one of my favorites from all of the Chainsaw Man EDs. Probably like my third favorite. Maybe second favorite. Because like the Maximum the Hormone one is my favorite by a long shot. But then the Vondi one and the People one. Because the one by People One is called Dogland for the Chainsaw One thing. For the Chainsaw Man ED. Really fun, weird song. Does not sound like this piece at all. I think this one was called Masterpiece, I think. Not a great song. So that's a bit of a downer, but other than that, this is a pretty solid piece of nostalgia. It makes me want to go watch all of the Gundam stuff that I haven't seen yet, because it's like I haven't seen 00, I haven't seen Turn A, I haven't seen Age, I haven't seen Victory, I haven't seen G Gundam, I haven't seen Wing. Yeah, I would really, really like to go watch more Gundam now. Good piece of nostalgia.
Okay, A Boy with Gundam is complete. Now, in fairness, this one was also sort of in the same vein of the Girls in Panzer Princess Samurai thing, where it's mostly just like promotion slash just promotion or a celebration of Gundam. But also this one was fun, so this one does get to be on the list. Where was I gonna put you? Yeah, we're gonna put you right above the other Gundam on this list, actually. Above the second Hathaway movie, in the 14 spot with a light 7. I found that very fun. I love Gundam. Alright. Time for our first end cap of the video. My Hero Academia 170 plus 1 more. This is adapting the final bonus chapter of My Hero Academia. You know me, I am a big big My Hero fan, so I'm very excited to see what they do with this. I already know everything that happens in this chapter, but fuck it, let's do another round of My Hero.
Okay, that was really good. Just a nice little coda to the story of My Hero Academia. If you're unfamiliar with this one for some reason, this is essentially I don't know how many years later it is. It's got to be at least like probably like 5 years later, maybe. Because this is when like probably more, but it's like this is when they're all adults now, as like working as heroes, doing their different stuff at the different agencies and doing their different fields of focus and stuff. And it's essentially just like one last Class 1A adventure, which I have always espoused that the fact that Class 1A has so many different vibrant personalities and the chemistry within the class is so strong and there's so many different ways for them to bounce off of each other, that's always been one of the biggest strengths of My Hero. And so to have an episode that's basically just that is really cool. And it's just fun to watch these guys be friends with each other, even as they venture into the adult world and are doing heroing as their full-time jobs now instead of just being students. It's fun to see how different people rank and stuff like that, and what their sort of focuses are within heroing work. Like, for example, like Uraraka is sort of focusing on like education with like younger kids who may or may not have issues with their quirks and stuff. Just little things like that are just nice little bits of adding on to these already very fun and interesting characters. And also the big draw of this episode, this adventure in particular, is that we finally get like the the ultimate resolution to the Midoriya Uraraka ship of like, oh, we aren't facing world-ending crises anymore, and now we're like just settled into our adult lives. Maybe it's time to actually like make time for those little romantic feelings that we've always had for each other, but have never really had the time to act upon. Because that's kind of what happened the whole series, is like, yeah, they had a crush on each other, but there was no room in the series to do anything with that. These guys were constantly being pushed to the brink of societal collapse, especially in the back half of the series. So now that we finally have time, now that the world isn't ending constantly, we can just take time to be like, okay, hey, that thing that I want, those feelings I have for Midoriya, maybe I should act on them. And I like that the resonance of Toga that still lingers within Uraraka is the thing that sort of spurs her on towards that. It's just it's a nice little metaphor of sorts, like just that lingering reminder of like, hey, don't forget to choose you as well. Like, you have to, like, yes, you're a hero and everything, but if you're a hero who's like entirely selfless and doesn't do anything for yourself, that's just not fun. You need to do some things for yourself. Take a little bit of toga into you and act on your own whims. Not to quite that extent, but I do like that it's toga as the manifestation of this idea of this freedom to choose what you want to do. And then on the other side of that, we have Bakugo kind of lecturing Midoriya like, hey, if you treat everybody like they're special, then no one's going to be special, and it's just going to, everything's just going to fade into a blob of whatever for you. I do like this sort of like Bakugo still got the hot temperedness to him and the anger issues, but also he very clearly has more life experience now, and so he can dole out these little nuggets of wisdom to Midoriya and be to sort of spur him on. Yeah, this was just really fun. It's just really damn fun to see Class 1A again. And it looked really solid, too. I was worried that they were going to slouch a bit on the animation. And it's not a Sakuga fest by any stretch. There is one decent action cut. But on the whole, it's just a really polished looking episode that looks like My Hero. I will say since the character designs are aged up a little, some look better than others. There seemed to be a little bit of inconsistency with Uraraka's design. Or maybe it's just because she got the most focus, or because I was focusing on her the most, because I knew she was a pivotal part of this episode. But some shots of her didn't look quite right. But on the whole, I do like the direction that they took with these aged up designs. And god damn, they gave Ashino a fucking dumpy, holy shit. Back that thing up. I'm sorry, I had to reference that because god damn. Yeah, this was good. I mean, if you made it all the way to the end of My Hero, you don't need me to tell you to watch this. This is just me reminding you that it exists and it is good. I know there's one more piece of My Hero thing coming in a few months, I think. It's going to be an Eri story, which I figured was always the place that My Hero would go eventually. I don't really know what they are going to do with it, because Eri's power is it's going to be interesting what they try to do with Eri's power. Because it's simultaneously overpowered and also very situational. So we'll see what they do with that. But yeah, My Hero's really good. Who would have thought? Okay, My Hero Academia More is complete. And we're going to go and put you pretty decently high up here. We're going to put you in the number 7 spot for right now with a light 8. I know it's not completely the end of My Hero yet, but as of now, this was a great coda for this story to end on. Man, I love My Hero.